Welcome to another Monday Blitz. 1 Samuel 15 has so much meat to it, so many rich things to discover and wrestle with. But I boiled it down to just one verse for us today, and in fact, not even a full verse, just verse 23, the beginning part, where Samuel is dealing with Saul. Saul had been anointed king and had chosen all the wrong parts of being king to celebrate and focus on. Primarily, he had decided that it was a focus on himself, what was good for him. And as God speaks through Samuel, God shares this powerful statement, something that made me just pause for a few moments and consider. And I want you to hopefully pause and spend a few moments as well considering this thought. There found in chapter 15 of 1 Samuel, verse 23. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Interesting comparison here that God makes. God says that rebellion is like divination. It's like this sin of seeking the unknown through supernatural powers instead of relying on God. I don't know about you, but that made me stop and think. Do I at times trust God to share what needs to be known, or do I try to make up something or create something of my own power? That's rebellion. That's what Samuel says to Saul. He says that this act of seeking your own plan over God's plan, deciding what is good for you in spite of what God says, is rebellion, which is seeking to know the unknown through other sources than God. But then he follows that up with a second powerful statement. He says that arrogance is like idolatry. Now this one hit me even harder than the first one. Rebellion and divination, okay, I get that. I don't know that I necessarily struggle with that. But this idea that arrogance and this idea that is the same as idolatry really made me stop and think, whoa, wait a minute. What about my life? What in my life might be my arrogance making decisions? And that is a form of worshiping myself over worshiping God. So I have to ask you the question I ask myself. Are there things in my life where I am arrogant? I'm proud. I look out for myself as number one. And in those settings, am I choosing myself over God? Am I choosing myself over other people? And in the process, I am choosing idolatry. I'm choosing to worship myself rather than God. Now, I know these terms are big and scary. Idolatry, that's such an ugly word in Christianity. Nobody wants to be an idolater. But could it be that we're even proud of our religious behavior? We're proud that we are good. We are proud we are Christians. We are proud that we belong to a certain denomination of Christians. Whatever those things, we can create an arrogance about ourselves that we know something that others don't know. And in the process, we begin to worship ourselves rather than God. So I challenge you, whether it's a doctrine, whether it's because you belong to a certain group, or maybe something else in your life that you are so confident in that it could become arrogance, ask God to point that out to you. Ask God to help reshape your thinking so that you're not worshiping something unintentionally that is literally idolatry, where you are disconnecting from God and connecting to something that has no power. Because when we do that, we end up rebelling against God, sometimes unintentionally. Sometimes we choose and intentionally go against God, but so often we unintentionally step away from God, following something we think is really good, and without realizing it, we start worshiping that thing we're following. So let's turn our eyes to God. Let's seek Jesus. Let's let the Holy Spirit fill us so that we are not in rebellion and we don't have an arrogance about ourselves. Rather, we come with humbleness, with that contrite spirit before God and say, "You are our God. We will be your people." Until next time.